don't hear any, then we'll just go right to Brian and get updates, issues and reports. Brian.
Hey, good evening. I don't have a ton to report tonight. I missed the theatrics and paper throwing at the ethics workshop on Tuesday. My wife had to have surgery on her wrist, and so I missed all the fun. By the time I got to a computer where I could watch it, it was almost over. So I've been catching up on everything that happened with that. Um, for the most part, I don't think the council's that far apart on what we're trying to do with an ethics policy. We know it needs to be improved, but how we get there and what all needs to be put in there versus the things that have worked recently between the DA's ouster, elections. I don't think we want to go overboard, but I think we want to get it right. And so I think that's the concern and the pause that's happening. So far, we've only seen one draft, and that is from the mayor himself. And we've asked for, what else is out there? What can we see that could make it better or making it too far the other direction? So I think that's really where we're at. It's a living document that we're going to do it right. We want to take the time, and there's no rush that it has to get done immediately. So that's really the main thing that we're working on right now. Obviously, the state legislative agenda has started working through those issues. Personally, in District 5, I've got a couple of housing issues that have been problematic in terms of upkeep and code violations that are kind of unusual for District 5. I mean, we're blessed that it doesn't happen a ton out here, but when it does, it's pretty noticeable. And it's not something that neighbors are used to seeing. And no one should have to see it or live next to it, but it is something that we have to deal with occasionally out here. So that's really what's been happening. We're going to be working on our federal legislative agenda here soon. It's a little late in the game, but fortunately, we've been very fortunate with some of our federal legislative issues, the North Junction, the multimodal transit center next to the Riverfront Stadium. Those are a couple of big wins. Obviously, COVID and the amount of money that's come into this community to support issues like homelessness and domestic violence and things that have been on the increase because of COVID. We've been able to shore up some budget areas with the CARES money. Obviously, that money theoretically would go away as the COVID pandemic ends, and we'll have to deal with it at that time. But we have been blessed on a federal level. Speaking of the ballpark, the structures that were on the site where we're putting the multimodal center have been cleared. We're putting out the RFQ for the design of that, and that should be coming before council here in the next week or two, I believe. It's a long build because it's a federal project, and so there's a lot of checks and balances through FTA that has to go through, but it's a pretty nice project that's going to really accentuate the whole Delano area. So again, those are just kind of the quick updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Brian?
Hey, Brian, this is Dennis. The housing issues that you mentioned, are those like nuisance abatement issues that you have municipal code that you can enforce, or what's a high level?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. One was a fire that pretty much destroyed the entire home, and they've done a really poor job of boarding it up. The homeowner is in, let's say, conflict with his insurance company. He's posted no trespassing signs on it, so it makes it more difficult for us to go in and do board up. And then just some other code enforcements with cars that are in other neighborhoods that I've had to deal with, cars that have been left on the street, non-operable, and making it a challenge for the neighborhood. So little things like that, but it is stuff that is enforceable. Okay. It's just, it takes a while.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Brian? Okay. With that, we'll move on. Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
We can start with the fire department report. Is there fire here?
I believe he is presenting in District 4 right now. He'll hop on when he's done with that DAB meeting.
Okay, he's had his chance. No, I'm just kidding. How about the police?
I do have stuff. Can everybody hear me okay?
Here she is.
Yeah, you're in your car.
Yeah, I'm in my car and working still. So I have a couple of things. We're going to start up our Second Chance Thursday again on February 11th. This is going to be for people who have traffic warrants. What we're doing is we're getting rid of that warrant by giving them a new court date. So they still have to go to court, pay their fines, etc. However, they can temporarily not have a warrant. If they come in, we can get them a new court date so they can not worry about that with jail and everything right now with COVID. So that's traffic warrants, notice to appear warrants for anything, probation violation warrants for everything. And everything else is still bookable. So if you have a domestic violence warrant, stuff like that, you're still going to jail. So we're doing that February 11th, but we're going to do it late night. So we're going to do 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. So that way if people have to work, they can still come in and get that taken care of after work. I know that 200 North Woodchuck is probably one of the addresses that is of concern with violations. I've been working on that all day. I've been taking care of 19 beat and 199 right now, so I've been handling that. I did get a hold of the land.
You're breaking up. I think we lost you.
Yeah, I think she's gone.
Yeah, she did email me a status update on that one, and she had been working with the owner of the property and their tenants. So she's doing a great job trying to get this fixed for us. There she is. She's back.
Yes. Yes. So I was just going to add that I did get a hold of the landlord and they are working on evicting them, but because of COVID rules, lack of payment is you can't evict, but nuisance violations you can. So they're going to court Friday. So hopefully I got a hold of the complaints. He's tickled pink about what happened.
Yep.
He also had a complaint about a house next door to that. And I contacted the business owner of that property and he actually said, hey, if you have problems, contact me directly. I will handle it. So everything's taken care of. And I do know that MABCD did have a warrant issued for the homeowner on that one. So
yeah,
I
appreciate your help
there. Yes, thank you. And that's about all I have today. So if there's any questions.
How's our catalytic converter thefts going? Did she drop off? Are they still at the same level they were last month?
They keep shutting me down. It's a city computer.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard my question. It's about catalytic converters. Any updates? Are we seeing any solutions to it?
No, we're making arrests, but they're kicking them right out. So until we get better laws to keep them held, we know who the players are and we've been booking them, but we have about 1 to 2 at least a night in District 5. So
yeah, I saw that it hit Riley County pretty hard with the school buses up there. So maybe some of these other counties will start helping out on the cause too, in terms of getting some better laws. So
yeah, and it's really frustrating for us too because we know who they are and we keep booking them and then they just get out because they're misdemeanor offenses right now.
I got a sad story on that. The guy we gave a card to from the clinic, the church gave us a card to give to a patient. The patient we chose was one that had his apartment burned to the ground and lost everything.
Oh no.
So he was living out of his car and driving his car to work, actually at Senior Services. And somebody hit his car, uninsured motorist, and he totaled his car. So he didn't have any place to live, didn't have a car. About a month later, Christmas time, obviously that church gave us the car and we gave it to him. And he brought me the license tag just last week. And the day before last week, he goes out for a break at Senior Services. And he hears a loud sawing noise. And the guy had an electric saw under his van. sawing his catalytic converter off.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So some people have all the bad luck, so.
Yeah.
But still, he's happy and positive, so I guess that's all right. So somebody's gonna weld it back for him,
Right. Well, good.
so. Yeah, so keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Parks and Recs, Dave here?
Yeah, JV, I'm here.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Good.
everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
All right. So as far as administrative stuff down here at the 11th floor at City Hall, we're getting ready to work on CIP and budget documents that are getting ready to be due in here in February, March, and April. So we're getting after all of that. As far as my park maintenance and forestry division, those guys are just doing normal work, normal winter work. We have a list of projects that we work on every year, and the forestry department is pruning trees and taking down trees. It's a good time to do that kind of work. So not too much anything out of the norm there. Like I said, we have that ongoing list of winter work that we work on, like cutting back ornamental grasses, mowing the edges of the Little Arkansas River where we can, trimming up the downtown river corridor and stuff like that. So as far as the recreation division, they're still working on trying to take registration for the youth football. It's still open. The program starts March 20th, so we're trying to get folks registered for that. The new spring guide will be available to mail to your home. You have to go out online and sign up, get a subscription to it. It's free, so then the guide would actually come. Otherwise, you can, of course, get it electronically on the city's website there. So I don't have a whole lot to report on other than we're just trying to do our normal work and get things done.
okay. Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know fire's back on, but let's go to the library and then we'll go to fire. Tracy?
Hi, everybody. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to remind everyone is that the library is currently only providing service through curbside and drive-through. At the Westlink Branch Library, we've actually created a drive-through out of orange cones where people enter our parking lot, follow that all the way to the entrance, stop there, and then we run out and help them right at the curb. The services that we are offering is customers can place holds on materials through our catalog, and then we pull them and have them ready for them when they arrive. And typically we charge 25 cents per hold, but during this time, what we're doing is waiving those hold fees so that they can have access to the collection. We're also issuing library cards through curbside, copying, faxing, and printing. So those are the services that we do have available through the curbside service. Unfortunately, we do not have public computing available or Wi-Fi. We do have access to all of our electronic collections, and we have like over 25,000 ebooks and e-audiobooks. And then also we have Flipster, which is e-magazine. So we have lots of resources still available for customers. At the beginning of January, we started our NEA Big Read Wichita. And this year, the book is actually Circe by Madeline Miller. And we do a lot of activities in relation to it. This year, they are all virtual, at least with the Wichita Public Library ones. But you can actually visit bigreadwichita.org and get a list of all of the activities that are happening in our community, but then also in surrounding communities as well. And Madeline Miller's Circe, it's mythology based. It's basically an extension of Circe's story. And I really enjoyed it because I like mythology. Now, I mentioned that we offer mobile printing, which basically people can send print jobs to us remotely, either by emailing them. They can actually upload them via our website. We have an app that they can use. We recently made a change with the email portion. Our email addresses for them to send their print documents to were a little bit long and confusing and a little bit challenging to give people over the phone. And so what we've done is we've actually simplified those to just the names of our locations at printspot.com, but complete listings can be found on our website. Now, some people have trouble accessing our collections because they're not as comfortable with computers. They really like it to be a tactile experience where they actually go down the shelves. So what we've done is we've devised some things to try and help them. We have a service called Grab Bags where people with young children can ask that a certain number of like beginning to read books or picture books be pulled for them. And then they will be available for them when they come to pick them up. We've also got recommended reading lists. Customers can actually send us a request to have one created. They'll identify like the types of things they like, and then we'll give them some suggestions of things that are similar. So that's ways that we can help you when you can't actually physically access our shelves yourself. Now, today is an exciting day for the library because we did open a new location today, the Ronald W. Walters Branch Library that actually replaced our Linwood Library. It's going to have the same hours as the Linwood Library. That's on 4195 East Harry Street. It is twice the size of the Linwood Library, so that's really exciting. I believe that it's at least 6,000 square feet, and they actually are going to have virtual tours available soon, so that's cool. But right now what they're doing is they're providing the curbside service just like we are at Westlink. Now, the final thing that I wanted to announce is Brian, several months ago, and I don't know if you're going to remember this, you mentioned that you desperately wanted another library challenge. And so because of Brian, we have created another library challenge for you. So you can thank him. He is the reason that this has occurred. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to email all of you a library bingo sheet, and you can participate individually or as a group. And if you get a bingo, which is just a single line, horizontally, vertically, diagonally, then you will get a medal. Okay. But if you get a blackout, you will actually get a trophy, and you will also get a book added to the library in your name. Okay. Now, Brian's next question is probably going to be,
The center square.
can we do this together?
Can I get the center square?
You can do this together, Brian. And so basically you can do like the blackout together. Individual bingo, I'm going to say you guys can do individual bingo by yourself because that's one line. I believe in you. But blackout, if you want to do it as a team, what will happen is I will donate a book to the library in District Advisory Board's honor on teamwork. Okay,
5.
So super cool.
5.
Yes.
District 5. You said
Yes.
District 4.
No, I didn't say 4. I said District Advisory Board.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
I thought you said
enunciate.
4.
I need to work on it. I'm so excited about this challenge that you have, encouraged us to create, so I couldn't do it. But what's going to happen is I'm going to send all of you the bingo board and then the kind of like general rules and
Okay.
possibility for fabulous prizes. Okay. And so that was it. Does anybody have any questions?
I
When
have
will
a
you be
question for you,
open again,
Tracy.
Tracy?
That's an excellent question. And
Yeah, that was
the
my
answer
question.
that I can give you is, unfortunately, we do not have a date that we will actually be open for normal service again. They are watching things and they're developing standards of what they want to meet. But right now, what they're doing is just the curbside and the drive-through, and then also the virtual programs. But it's a great question. And what you can do is on our website, we have an entire page on COVID and how the library is responding to it. And that will have updates. So what
Tracy?
other questions?
Tracy,
Yes.
I have used the curbside service several times and it works great. You guys are doing a great job under the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Tracy?
appreciate you saying that. Mhm.
Yeah, Tracy, I'd like to encourage you to open back up, with 6 feet social distancing. I think you have the space to do that. The positivity rate is in the single digits now. So for COVID positive test rate, and I think the people who have access to computers and stuff have an easier time accessing your services, but the poor people, their only computer might be in your library. So if I just encourage you to look at that and
Sure.
and consider all the angles and see if you can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Tracy,
And
who makes those decisions?
who makes the decision?
Yep.
Okay, so it is a library decision, and it is actually made by our administrative board, like our administration. And then what they do is they do it in consultation with the library board, and then also with other like city officials. But basically what they do, it is the library's decision. But what I can absolutely do is share your feelings, because they are aware of them, but it's always good to hear them.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there any way when you send the library bingo cards, can you
Sure.
send us an email or some contact information with somebody on the library board? So if anybody feels compelled to email
Sure.
somebody on the library board to open up, they can.
Corey,
can-
can you, yeah, I was going to suggest that Corey send the 2 District 5 representatives on the library board is Randall Johnston and Aaron Bach. They both represent District 5 on the library board, and we can get you their emails.
And what I do want to stress is it is like library decided, and then the library board, basically what they do is the library makes the decision, and then it's taken to the library board to see if they will support it.
Okay.
But expressing your feelings to the library board is a great thing. And then what I can absolutely do is I can send you the information for the library administration and then also the library board. Absolutely. And Russell has his hand raised.
I had a question that actually might be more for Brian than you, Tracy, but
Sure.
basically I was just hoping to be reminded, it's been decades, obviously, since, before the pandemic. But Brian, if you could remind me and anyone else who is interested, where was the conversation about, possible expansion at the Westlink branch? Nothing's happened with that conversation, I think, for close to a year or maybe more than a year.
Yep.
But where was it at?
I'm happy to answer that because you brought up what I was going to talk about. I know I forgot to mention this earlier, but since Tracy talked about the Walters branch that we just opened in District 3, that was part of the regional branch library master plan that we did back in 19, and then we formalized it in 20. It was Councilmember Claycomb, Councilmember Blubaugh, and myself, along with several members of the library board. We worked together on our branch library plan, and the first goal on that was the District 3 branch. Part of that also then included an expansion of the Evergreen branch in District 6, and then an expansion of Westlink, doubling its size, adding a larger children's reading area, a teen reading area, more meeting rooms. And that got pushed back in the capital plan to 23. We did have it in 22, but because of COVID and the impact that it's had on our finances, it is in the 23 capital improvement plan for Westlink to double in size at its location that it's at right now. We had our on-call architects look at the facility and the size and determine that it fit on that space very well. It could easily be adapted without interfering with the normal operation, which I'm sure Tracy likes to hear that. And it's such a well-known location and affordable because we own all the land. So that's the plan right now, is Westlink would double in size in 23.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. Tracy,
bet.
is that going to involve a commensurate increase in staffing at Westlink, or is that something that somebody else would decide?
That's definitely not something that I would decide. So I can honestly say that. And typically I guess we would just have to see what would happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our
we-
staffing is affected by our budget.
Yeah, we anticipate there would be an increase in staff because of the larger facility, the additional computer workstations, the teen reading room. Yeah, how many at this point, we don't know. We'll have to get the plan for that as we get towards that, so.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions for Tracy? Okay,
This is
thank you,
the most
Tracy.
questions I've ever had. This is like fabulous. So good job, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump back to the fire department. Report on fire.
Okay, I'm on. I unfortunately, I think I'm following a rock star at these. So my name is Jason Jones, and I'm Battalion 2 out here at 16th at Tyler and 17th, 16th. So I come by way of Midtown and Upper East Side and down South City. I spent many years as a captain. I've been a chief for a couple of years. I worked in Battalion 3 and then Midtown, and then now I'm out here, and I've been out here since I think November, but I think it's my first occasion to do a DAB meeting with you guys, just as the schedule falls. I don't have any bingo or anything that I've got to report, but you guys are the big winners because in January, there were no investigative fires in your district. So we had no structure fires that made the investigation unit, and you're the only district in the city that had such a record. So I don't have a total number of alarms for the district, but that's good news that we made it through the whole month without a significant structure fire. So if you guys have any questions for me, either the board or anybody else on, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Typically, we get a report on the number of medical calls as well as number of service calls each month.
Yeah, I did not get that information this month, and DAB Ford questioned it as well, and so I'll be sure and have that for you guys next month. It was pretty steady on the medicals, obviously due to COVID. Yeah, we're making. Well, I think we ended the year last year as a city about 80,000 alarms. So total, which would include all the service calls and medicals, fires and all that. So that's steadily increased every year over the years. So, but I don't have a number for you. And I made a note from DAB4 to make sure I have those numbers. I just got the information from the investigation unit this time. I don't know if it's because it's just the first, just landed on the first of not everybody's got it all together yet or what the deal is. I will check into that and have it for you next month.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we'll move on to Public Works and Utilities.
All right, yes, Steve Dagenhart here, construction manager with Public Works Engineering. Run through a number of the projects under construction. 13th Street from Cowskin Creek to 135th Street, really no change there. There's sidewalk sections that the contractor has to finish, and then the final layer of asphalt, which I would not expect that to happen at all before mid-April, depending on how inconsistent the weather pattern is in April. We've seen that sometimes not have good weather until mid-May. So it just kind of depends. We need a good week of consistent temperatures for the special oil that's used in that last layer of asphalt. So 37th and Tyler, good news there. The contractor took delivery of the signal equipment last week after months delay from the manufacturer. So they're working on getting that equipment installed, and the signals should go into a flash mode this week, and which they're required to do anytime we new signals installed at an intersection. So anticipate they should be fully operational then next week. Harvest Park swimming pool, part of the aquatics master plan. No real change there. Working on a lot of the pipe plumbing work and the expansion of that pool. Still looking at being complete in May ahead of the 21 pool season. The 21 pavement preservation program, we just awarded the asphalt overlay contract, or actually it's, yeah, just awarded it last week, I believe. Got a handful of arterial streets in District 5, including 119th Street, a couple different sections of Central, and then Maple as well. That work will likely start here in the second quarter and probably extend into the third quarter of 21. That's really the update for projects under construction. No real news or changes in design. Here later this summer, we'll have a project there to widen 13th Street from Tyler and going a half mile east in front of Northwest High School there. But that construction is set to it won't start until probably summer of this year to get the design work complete. Only other update maybe for design, the North Junction. It has had different grant funding awarded for it. And so it was still about $4 million short. And here the KDOT has agreed to fund the remaining $4 million. So that means that the Gold project, which is the first big phase of that entire interchange of the North Junction, is now fully funded. The accelerated phase within that Gold project is set to probably start construction here this spring. I think it might bid, KDOT will put that out for bid later this month. So, and that first accelerated phase will build the northbound to westbound.
Did we lose you there a little bit?
Sounded like you may have dropped off.
Yeah, it sounded like he's not there anymore. Okay, Steve,
Am I
I think
back?
you hear us. I think we lost you.
There you go.
Hey, am I back?
Yes.
You're back. Okay.
All right. That was it on the North Junction. So the last part of the Gold project probably won't start until fall of 22.
Okay. Any questions for Steve?
I have a question. Just wanting to know the status of the sidewalk at Ridge and 37th Street going east towards North Ridge, I think is the housing development. Is there any update?
I see that Steve dropped off,
Oh,
so
okay.
I can answer it. Tomorrow, well, there's Steve back. Tomorrow, we're supposed to approve we're supposed to consider the 2021 sidewalk program, and I believe that's funded in there.
Okay.
The last I heard, there was still a little bit of right-of-way acquisition or property on the far east end of it, but everything else was already taken care of. So I think the goal was to get it built this year if we approve it tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve and Brian?
JB, I've got a follow-up on that. Actually, either Brian or Steve, I need a clarification on how that sidewalk program worked. That's $1 million a year. Is that the one you're talking about, Brian, for 10 years?
Tomorrow's, I don't think is that high.
Okay. That's what's in the CIP. Okay, is the $1 million a year. Well, for Brian to come back here. Is this the arterial sidewalk program that you're talking about, Brian?
I'm sorry, tomorrow's the sidewalk maintenance program.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not the addition of new sidewalks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to get to that real quick. I should have known that before getting on here.
Yeah, these are for fixes and uneven and trip hazards and stuff like that. Is not for the one we're doing tomorrow. I got confused, sorry.
And what does that provide for, Brian? I mean,
That is the funding to make the on-call contractor for repair, so that we can get them fixed as soon as possible, and we give them direct payment. That has $1 million in it.
But that is essentially an advance that the homeowner has to pay back, right?
Right, through special assessment, correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's different.
So that way we don't have to wait on repairs. We can go ahead and get them fixed immediately.
Understand that. That's different than it. Well, I'm a question. Is that different than what is in the CIP at $1 million a year for the?
Yes, because this is part of an operational budget, not part of.
Okay. Good. Well, that's what I understood that was, but then I was, like I said, I was looking at the CIP and was confused that since it happened to be the same amount.
Yeah, I think Steve is still on the phone. I thought the new sidewalk was 400,000 in annual for adding new sidewalks. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a lower amount. I don't have the amount in front of me, but new sidewalk is substantially less than the sidewalk maintenance.
Okay. Thank you. That answered my question, despite my confusion.
Yeah, I think I confused everybody as well, so my fault.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any more questions for Steve? If not, that concludes our reports. Would anyone like to make a motion to receive and file all the staff reports?
So moved.
Second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to receive and file all the staff reports. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Our new business is housing and community services for fiscal year 21-22. And Brad, are you on?
I am.
Okay, it's all yours.
Not sure where I'm at though.
Okay.
I can't see myself, but I'll go ahead and start this presentation in just a second. I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I'm really happy to just hear the reports from all the other departments. We have a great organization, and it's so encouraging to hear what other people or other departments have going on. So I'll share my screen here and see if this works. Let's see. Oops, here we go. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, the city gets an annual allocation of funds from HUD, and as the city, it's our responsibility to make an action plan. And all these activities align with the city goals of creating livable and sustainable communities that are to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and affordable housing. This thing didn't advance for a while. So normally, community development block grant, we get last year almost $3 million. And our home investment partnership program, or just commonly called the home program, we got a little bit over $1.5 million, and emergency solutions grant was just almost $250,000. Those are our normal funding amounts. And then we begin this whole process back in 2019 with our 5-year consolidated plan. It goes from 2019 through 2023. And each year we develop an action plan. And now we're going to start the 3rd program year. Our program year begins in July and ends June 30th of the following year. And in CARES money, we were stunned by how much money we got. In the first round, it was $1.7 million. And in September, HUD called us and said, you're going to get a lot of money. And when they said $1.9 million, you know, we were excited and overwhelmed, but excited because we could really put it to use in the community and help a lot of people. With the Emergency Solutions Grant for CARES, first round was $850,000. Second round, almost $2.5 million. So our timeline is every year in November, we start gathering public input, develop the annual action plan. In January, we appoint the grant review committee and issue requests for proposals. And those proposals came in the middle of January 15th. Proposals came back in. In February, our grant review committee will meet several times and make a preliminary spending plan. And then in March through April, we'll open and close in a 30-day comment period. And then we'll go to council in May and review the spending plan and the amounts. And then in May, we'll send, it says second year, but we'll send our third year annual action plan into HUD. And then in July, the program starts. So it's a pretty fast-paced program. I'm just going to go over the high points of these programs we use. So CDBG meets national objectives to prevent slumber, blight, urgent needs. It's all used for eligible spending activity. Not less than 70% of the spending must benefit low to moderate income persons. We have a public service category of $1 million, almost $1.2 million for public services. And I'll go over what those are in just a second. But with each program, we'll develop an MOU with other city departments. We've done that with Park and Rec or Public Works or what have you, when we develop a business relationship with those departments. With, you know, when you talk about that sidewalk, it reminded me of sidewalks we've done in low-income neighborhoods that were really in poor repair. A lot of sections were lifted up, unsafe, and it's a joy to, you know, put new sidewalks in neighborhoods like that. So we can also do park improvements, economic development, facade improvement. The home repair program is just a backbone of the CDBG program, and then MABCD demo and clearance programs. We also support the Office of Community Services in the City Manager's Office, the Housing First program for homeless assistance, you know, permanent supportive housing, domestic violence shelter services, youth crime prevention, and our Way to Work program for summer youth employment. The home program, we do a lot of homeownership activities for first-time home buyers, housing development and redevelopment activities. CHODOs are, it's our acronym, HUD's acronym for Community Housing Development Organization. They're nonprofit organizations. We supply operating support and program administration. CHODO set aside is just, you know, the staff issues applications. They fill them out, put them in, send them back to us, and we will, all the funds are developed, utilized for the development of affordable housing. Some of our CHODOs you may be familiar with, Mennonite Housing, Power CDC, Jacob's Ladder. They're just nonprofit housing developers. So here's the list of requirements for CHODOs. And then the Emergency Solutions Grant, 60%, there's a 60% cap on homeless assistance. The other portion, the other 40% could be homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, and then this is a HMIS, it's Homeless Management Information System that's administered by the United Way of the Plains, and it's a relational database that tracks the comings and goings of all the homeless persons in our community. So we also, shelter services, homeless prevention. And I debated whether to tell you about this slide at the beginning of the presentation, but we need to know from you if we would get more or less of an allocation, how we should distribute that. What activities are a high priority and what activities are a low priority, and are there urgent needs that should be considered? And if you have any comments, you can speak them now. Another thing is, Councilmember Fry, and the whole DAB may be aware of this, is places for people, and there's a land bank that I'm not exactly sure if it's started. I know that there's been some work done as preparation, but that's one thing that could be funded this next year with Community Development Block Grant. And just,
Yeah, it hasn't been approved yet. It's still in review, hasn't come to council yet for formal adoption, but you're right, it's something that could be used to help with some of these blighted properties in the core
Right.
urban infill area.
Yeah, that is, that established central area is quite large.
Yeah, it goes to Ridge Road on the west side.
Yeah, from Rock Road to Ridge Road, 31st Street South to 29th North. So that's a large area. But my understanding is the properties come into the land bank and they go out pretty quick. It's just a tool to stabilize neighborhoods, provide affordable housing, neighborhood revitalization. And I think it's a great tool. I look forward to having it implemented in the city.
How does that work? So there's plenty of houses that are in that shape around the clinic. Either had a fire, nobody's living in them, or falling down. So do they just go in and scrape it and resell the land, or do they provide funds to rehabilitate the house and then sell it or lease it?
Yes, all of those. That was my understanding when I read the material, is that I would think that it could be transferred to one of these chodos perhaps, or to anybody else that wanted to rehab it or build a new home there. As long as, and I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head, but it's for affordable housing. So as long as it would be in the price range that a low or moderate income person could qualify for it. And low income in our is 80% of the area median income. But I feel for you on those firehouses because they're difficult to get rid of, especially if it's controversy with the insurance company or something. You feel like you wish you could go in there and take control of the situation. But anyway, what you said, council member, is all part of it.
I think that was JV's question.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is to figure out some other tools and means, whether it's helping acquire property by using these funds through the land bank so we can secure them and then get them in the hands of developers who then have to follow through on certain things in turn, also in acquiring the property back from the city. But building affordable housing in some of these lots that are inside the urban core, that we've already got significant investment in with the infrastructure, the roads, the sewers, the streets, the water's all there.
Right.
But the property's not generating any tax revenue because there's no home and there's no one paying taxes. If we can get these lots repurposed and occupied and generating revenue, that's going to help the entire city.
Yes.
And if we can use this places for people and some of this funding mechanism as a way to do that, it could really be transformational for a lot of these vacant lots that we have scattered throughout a very significant area.
Yes. It'd be
And a lot of there's some other issues that go into that, some zoning applications, some different ways of looking at property than what we're used to. So it's a big, it's a very big project. It's a lot of years have been spent working on it, but ultimately we think it could be very good. So.
Yes.
Okay, I can barely hear you, Brian. Is that anybody else?
Sorry.
No, I
Maybe
can,
it's just me.
I can hear him okay. So,
Okay.
You can hear me okay? Maybe it's just me.
I'll look
So.
better, speak better.
Okay, any questions on that?
Brad, did you need something more specific from us tonight? I believe Troy Palmer is our representative on the grants review committee for this going forward.
I don't believe I do. I think it's just an informational, if you have questions, like I say, if our funding levels change, I mean, we'll work with the grants review committee to either increase or decrease our allocation towards the proposals.
I will tell you that housing has done a phenomenal job this year in 2020 dealing with COVID and CARES. They have been instrumental in finding and doing some really cool projects. You've probably heard about the 316 hotel project. We were able to use CARES funding dollars to acquire a hotel property and turn it into an emergency women's shelter right now. And then long term, as it gets remodeled, it will be a family shelter. We don't have very many at all for the homeless families. And so this will be a phenomenal transformational project to really help our homeless people. We also were able to secure, what was it, $800,000 for Wichita
Yes.
Family Services.
Yeah, Family Crisis Center.
Yeah, Family Crisis Center, thank you, for their new facility. So, this CARES funding, you don't want it, but because of it, we've been able to do some things that long-term is going to help our homeless situation beyond the COVID crisis.
Right.
And hopefully allow us to really get a handle and provide some needed services that currently don't exist. So, a little positivity out of this. So,
yeah, I tell you, we were blessed to have Sally Stang come in as the housing director. She's extremely knowledgeable, innovative, easy to work with.
Yep.
She's
it's a good hire.
Very good hire.
hire. Well, thanks, Brad.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anything else, Brian?
I forgot to mention this early on. In the past, we've done some fun tours of things that are under construction or in the works. And I got to take a tour. It's not a city project, but the county is rebuilding their entry, their front offices, administrative offices, and gift shop. And I got to take a tour of that a couple of weeks ago, and it's amazing. And they offered it to our DAB to see it behind the scenes. This is all of their offices, their boardroom, etc. They got a couple of surprises that I didn't even know about that they were putting in. So I'd like to schedule something, and we'll put a note out to everyone to see when might work best, maybe a late afternoon, Wednesday or Thursday or something. But I think it'd be really fun for you all to see that. The zoo is world-class already, but this is going to be such a dramatic difference for patrons. And it sits in District 5, so I thought it'd be fun for us to go do. And then in early April, when the weather gets a little nicer, I'd like you all to go over and take a tour of the Harvest Park Pool project. As Steve said earlier, that's going to be finished sometime in May in time for the season, but there's a lot going on with that project, including some custom art, some additional amenities. And if the weather holds in, early April or something, I think it'd be fun for you all to see that and what we're putting in place there. With the aquatics master plan, every pool, every water playground is different. Each one has its own unique character, its own unique art. And so it's really going to be something for our citizens, our neighbors, to really get excited about. And hopefully, pool hop, water playground explore, because there's going to be something different at every one of these. And I think the Harvest Park one is going to be pretty special. And so we're going to look at an early April tour of that as well. So be on the lookout for those. I think it'd be fun for us to get together, and we can socially distance and, wear double masks or 10 masks or whatever we have to do. But something to look forward to.
Okay. Thank you,
JB,
Brian.
JB,
Yes.
can
Go ahead,
I,
Alan.
can I circle back for just a moment? I don't mean for a long time on the ethics policy with Brian. Unfortunately, I did watch the workshop. I was wondering if your absence was prescient, but I appreciate your comments on that. I think what you said about makes a lot of sense. I also think that it makes obvious sense to bring it out to the DABs in advance and so forth, even though there was some resistance to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it odd that we're arguing against bringing it to the DABs.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to be transparent and we don't want to take it out to you all.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense at all to me. And I fought for that. I fought for another transparency issue recently on the legislative agenda. So that to me is like, wait a minute, if we're trying to work on our ethics, we should also make sure we're being as transparent as possible. So in March, you should probably get a presentation as a DAB as to where we're at, what we're looking at. So far, we've only looked at one policy consideration. And we as council members haven't been privy to all of the research that's been done. And so I asked for that Friday. I'm actually getting a little blowback because of that, which I find just infuriating.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hold it up. I want to continue to proceed, but I think I need to have a full measure of what's being talked about and what's being considered, and not just one point of view.
Yeah.
And I think the council all wants that. And again, we want to do it right. We don't want to, I don't think anyone's saying we don't need it. I think we all know that it can be improved. But I was also some concern about putting so many layers of government, so many layers out there, that it makes it impossible for people that want to serve, because you potentially as DAB members could have to be on this ethics review board at some point. And right now there's no definition of frivolous, and how many of those could you actually see, and how many times you're going to get asked to do it. So there's a lot of unknowns. Again, I'm probably thinking worst case scenario. Hopefully the behavior of council members doesn't require a bunch of investigations, that we're doing everything proper, and there's no cause for concern. But we also just don't want it to make it so unwieldy that it doesn't do what it's intended to do. So,
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of very complicated issues on how you address certain things, and whether you address things and so forth. And so there's a lot to work through. I'd love to know if Dr. Fox is planning on writing any articles about that anytime soon. So.
I'm sure he's got something in the queue.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Well, and I'm sure Dr. Billingham, is it Professor or Dr. Chase? Does he have a title?
He's a PhD. It's Dr. Billingham.
Okay, so I'm sure Dr. Billingham's probably got one in the works as well. So he and I have shared a lot of conversations back and forth during all this. He's been a good sounding board.
He's really amazing at keeping track of these things and publishing it. That is, getting it out there.
Yeah.
He's always, coming up with something that I've missed or something that I need to know about. He provides a great service.
Yeah, we're talking about Chase Billingham. He's a professor out at Wichita State. So.
Okay. What's your backdrop there, Alan?
The Columbia River Gorge,
Ah,
the old Columbia River Highway.
good, good. It's pretty.
It was a bike trip.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty. Okay, do we have anything else?
Sorry, one
Anybody
quick
would like to bring up anything else?
I got one quick go back. Sorry if I missed this. Is there any updates for the District 3 council member vacancy?
No. I don't know if they finished verifying all the petitions. They may still be working on that. There were as many as 12, I believe, that had turned them in. And again, they've got to sort through all, make sure that there's no duplicate signatures on, applicant A, applicant B can't have that same signature. So they've got to do all of that. There's got to be 100 unique signatures on each petition. So I would think they're still working on it, since there hasn't been any notification or any press coverage about these are the candidates. I've not seen anything on our calendars yet for interviewing. Those prospects, those candidates have to be interviewed by District 3 DAB, their advisory board first, and then they can recommend between 4 and 5 candidates to the council for further interview. But none of those dates I've seen yet.
Yes,
so
good.
I think we're still hoping to get that all done this month. Corey, have you seen anything different or heard anything?
Yeah, I think the special DAB meeting is next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. So moving right along.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
And Councilman
Okay,
Fry,
thank you, Dennis.
Yes, Roman.
Along those lines, you mentioned if there are duplicates, you mentioned there can't be duplicates. If there are those names thrown out for whoever, whichever candidate received those signatures?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would think that they would have to be taken off of all petitions that they were on.
Yeah.
That's why I know some of the candidates were getting more than the 100 minimum, just to make sure that if there were duplicates, they were still safe. But I would think that if it was on more than one petition, it'd have to come off of every petition.
That would be my guess as well. I just hadn't really thought through what that process might look like.
We just did this a year and a half ago with District 2, and you'd think I would remember all this, but I don't. So.
And you said that the advisory board recommends 4 to 5.
Correct. That's what I understand.
Okay. And then that goes to a vote of the full city council with mayor, correct?
Correct. So then we will set up interviews with those recommendations, and we spend time with them, ask them our questions, and then we have a full vote at the council.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it hasn't been that long ago, but it's kind of funny how we forget the processes. Yeah. Thank you.
Are the interviews open to the public?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, but the vote would take place at an open meeting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And the advisory board meeting, though, that would be something that the public could watch as those candidates present and answer questions at the district advisory meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do those candidates get scored, Brian? Are there like canned interview questions and then like a scorecard, or how does that process work?
I've not been on that side of it as a DAB member, interviewing candidates for that. So I don't believe that there is a scorecard. But I thought there was some conversation, forgive me. There was some conversation about that, and then legal issued an opinion to us, and I don't have that in front of me, but I'll look it up tomorrow and send it to you all, because I don't want to misquote.
I know at the District 2 DAB interview, all of the DAB members had a printout of the same questions, and they asked each candidate the exact same questions, and they each had something like 1 to 5 or 7 minutes to answer each one. So it's pretty standardized.
Right. but I can't remember on the scoring. I got to look that up. Again, I know legal sent us an opinion, but I don't want to misquote it. So I'll look it up tomorrow and send it to y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Any other questions? If not, I think we've come to the end, so.
Go
I'll make a
Chiefs.
motion to adjourn. And wait till next month. Okay.
I'll make a
thank you
motion.
all.
Troy's ready to get off.
Troy's gone.
No, I'm still here, but
Okay.
I'm gone.
Good night.
Night.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.